Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Following my last video, today will be a quick guide about how to do your own camera app with Android Studio. We will keep it really simple, but straight to the goal, to be able to record with your cell phone. The first thing, if you don't have already, you need to go get Android Studio. Now I will advise you to get the latest version, Android Studio H-Dog. Click follow the instruction, and it should be quick to install. So once that Android Studio is installed, you can now create your new project. Go in File, New Project, and you see there's a couple of different templates. Because we want to do our project in Java and keep it simple, we'll choose Empty View Activity. Click after that Next. First thing is to choose a name. Make sure the location you want your apps. The language, you'll see there's two choices available. After that, the minimum SDK. So what is the minimum version that your app will be supported? Right now, for 2024, I will say that API 25 is a really good start because it will still cover 95% of the device. If you decide to go to a latest version, example 33, only 22.4% of the device will be supported. So you want your app to have all the latest functionality. The build configuration language now with the latest Android Studio, they recommend using Kotlin DSL. It's not an issue, quite easy to use. And click Finish. Give it 1 minute or two for the project to set up. If it is your first time using Android Studio, it's important to understand the principle of a project. On the left side, you have the file structure. The first one is the main activity, is where the base of your code will be, and everything will be in Java. For now, there's not a lot, there's a couple of import, but you will see as more you add to project, the code will add on. The other part is under Res, Layout, the activity main. Is what your app will look like. One of the great functions of Android Studio is to be able to put it in split and to work from the left and to see the change to the right. The other part that you need to know is the Gradle script. It's quite simple, but is essential for your project. You just say what use the minimum SDK, what's the target SDK, with the version, there's the dependency of your project, and how the project will compile. The other part that is really important too is the Android manifest. If you click on it, it will help you determine what's the theme of your project, icon, and label. The first step is to go in the Android manifest file. Is where you can add permission and the use of some hardware. So the first step would be to give ourselves the authorization to use the camera. So you will enter use, feature, skip, Android name. You'll see with Android Studio it's really quick, quite easy because it will suggest you a lot of choice of what to fill and pre-fill. So we'll choose Android. Oh, is there already? Android hardware camera. Android. We'll add the second line if it's required or not. I will write false. So what that means is if the app is installed on a cell phone that doesn't have a camera, the app will still start, but it will not give you a view. Now do we have access to the hardware? We need to give us more permission. Use permission. And pre-fill too quickly. Permission. I want camera 1. Close it. We'll cheat a little, so save a little bit of time. I want camera 2. I want to be able to also have access to the audio. So if we look at it, just write the audio, we'll be able to find or record audio. And the last one will go on the last step, and is to be able to write on the media the file that you record. So write external storage. So you're good to go for the permission. The second step is to create the layout for your app. You go to Activity Main. I suggest to split the screen is make it more easy. The first thing, you want to remove the text. The basic layout for an app is constraint layout. Personally, I'm a big fan of relative layout. So everything will be proportional depending on the screen. So we have our layout. What we need next is our texture view. So the texture view will act as a screen and it will help us to be able to see what the camera sees. I want the full screen, so I will match the parent. And also we want to give it an ID. It will be useful later to be able to identify our code to this texture view. We'll call it camera surface. And I want it to be in the middle, so through all time. There's another way to add element and not just by code. You can just go back in the design, and on the left you will see there's a lot of options of what you can add. We'll add it. It will automatically put it in the left upper corner. And you will see at the right, you can adjust then the propriety of it. We can change the name to record. Personally, I just find it more easy to use the code. Record BTN, we'll keep it simple. I want it center horizontally. True. Now that after that, there's a couple of options of how you can move it around. To keep it simple, we'll just add an upper margin. Margin top, let's say 30 dB. So on every cell that this app will run, the button will be always at 30 dB from the top and should work for the majority of the cell phone. Now we have our layout. We can now go in the code part. One thing that is important, and I will advise anybody, is to leave comments. In our case, we'll start with two to do, is to initiate the texture view, and the name of it is camera surface. And another to do is to initiate the button to record, called record BTN in my case. I will break it in pieces to make it a little bit easier. The first thing we want to do is to deal with the texture view. We'll use a camera surface. We'll also require to create a variable for it. The next step with the texture view is to handle the state of it. So what I mean by that is a surface listener to deal with the different state of the texture view. As you can see, Android Studio did generate the fourth state by itself. So now that the texture view is created, we want to open the camera. We'll create a function for it. We will add it first when the app is created, and also when the state of the texture view changed for available. We can remove that. Camera on Android, the way it works is they use a manager to have access to all the sub-element of it. So once we have our manager, we can try, and it's where we'll check for permission. We'll check first if in the case that we don't have permission. So if we don't have permission, the first thing we want to do is to ask for permission. So up to now we have some error in the code. We'll fix first the camera. We'll need to import the class manifest. And the second one is the variable. Now we can deal with the manager. To open the camera, you need to give to the function which ID. So we will create also a variable for it. You could technically hardcode it, but it's more easy later on if you want to change it and to add the function to switch between camera. Next variable is the state of the callback. camera device state callback would be a function, and the background handler will be a variable. But before that, we will just make sure to catch the error. Here you can just hardcode a string, or you can just use a basic one. So I will create a variable for it that I call tag, just to be easy to be able to find it in the log if I run through any issue. The second variable we need to create is in two parts. Is the handler. I will not go too much in detail, but in the code I will add also the code that go with it. And with Android Studio, often right click and it will give you the option to import the class. So now our open camera function is done. We need to now to deal with the state callback. And for the state callback, there's three state: open, on disconnect, and on error. So we will add some detail. First, the camera device. We want to start preview possible. If it's disconnected or on error, we want the camera to close. So to author function to write. So the only thing to finish this function will be to create the mCamera device variable. You just also want to make sure that the name fit your function that was auto-generated by Android Studio. I want to use only camera. The next step is where the magic happens, is to create the function start preview. The first thing you want to do is to try to be sure to catch error. So we'll create the surface texture. And the preview surface will be where we want to send the picture. We need to import the class. Now is where the code starts to be a little bit more complex. That is the start preview function. Like I said, there will be a full code in a link in the description below. The last function that we want for the day is to close the camera. So we void close camera. This one will be way simpler. Check if our capture session. It's not really close. And if it's not really close, we'll close it. So now the app will be ready, but I did an error somewhere. If I go in under problem and the identifier expected, I just simply add the dot. So now it should be fixed. Now is the moment of truth, and is to try the app. With my Android Studio, I already have two apps set up, Nexus 5 and the Samsung S10. If you want to add a cell phone of your choice to test your app, can you go in Device Manager and just click Add. You can choose which model, the size of the screen, the density to run your test. We'll go with Nexus 5 and we'll test if our app works. And it worked on the first try. What we see in the background is the front of my tower. So that will be the end of the video. And for the one that are curious to know how to change the size of the camera, you just play with the size of the texture view. It's just really important to always keep the same aspect ratio. If not, that we can create conflict. If you really want the code of a more developed app, you can go on my GitHub. I will also add the link below. And on the free app I made, accessible for all, just to give you some idea. There's a couple of different ways to deal with aspiration and bitrate and size. It's just you choose what you like the most. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like. If you have any question, please leave a comment, and I will try my best to answer you. It's really not easy, as there are different ways to approach this code, and it's just to give you the basic on how an app could record. Cheers!